Okay, so Tigrilla got double booked today. She was really hoping she could be here on this call with you as well. So I am acting host. If you have any problems or issues with Zoom, you can shout out to me. Um, both of you know me, so I don't have to worry about that. And I believe both of you know Crotalo. He's going to be running the actual call, and we can take it away from there.
Thank you, Veronica. So, well, let's start this appointment connecting to the mystery school. So, as we greet in Damanhur, you know that we're not using the ciao, but we're using the I am with you. Io sono con te, io sono con voi. So I'm with you again for tonight, and it's a pleasure to be here, and it's also, let's say, an occasion for you to ask everything that you didn't ask before about the mystery school. That, by the way, just very briefly, is the last of the different schools that are existing in Damanhur. So this is the last one that Falco designed, that designed with me at the time in which in 2003 I was at the head of what today we call Academy, Welcome Office, and Hospitality. So it was a great honor to design with him all the path that is really connecting all the Falco's teaching, all the most important element of the teaching that he brought back to us in these last 45 years. So it is, of all the school, probably still the most complete one, the one that is covering mostly all the different elements of spirituality and of the initiate path, Damanhur. So there's a reason why we call it Mystery School, because it is definitely connecting to the core of our spirituality. Just to reintroduce some elements of what also we mention very often with the terms knowledge, because obviously often when we are talking about the different seminars, the different topics, astral travel, past life, inner harmonizations, personalities, spiritual physics, and many others, we always refer to a very specific teaching, to a very specific information that we mention often with the terms knowledge. So just to clarify, knowledge, it is been always the same all over the time and all over the world. So in a way, we are not inventing anything new, but we are rediscovering, or in a way, we are reawakening, remembering things that we probably learn in other moment of our life, in other existence. And then, fortunately, or probably unfortunately, we forget. So we need to remember, we need to reawake, we need to bring back something. What obviously is been changing in the teaching of the knowledge, if the knowledge never change, are the terminology, the terms that obviously they need to be adapted to the culture, the civilization in which we are living. Very often during this example, so if I have to talk today about death, and I have to talk about this topic in a Western, let's say, civilization, in one of our society, well, obviously, I have to do and I have to use some kind of terms, some kind of terminology that will be well understood for the way of living of our society. But if I'm going to India and I have to talk about death in India, well, definitely I cannot use the same example. I cannot use the same terms. I have to adapt to the way of living, the way of thinking of that society, of that culture. So all along, let's say, the history, we might find different terms to explain the same exactly things, to explain, to teach this exactly the same thing. Now, another very common question that people are asking us, studying the mystery school, or even, let's say, testing the first seminars, because this is also a possibility, maybe a commitment of a year or 3 years. It sounds, too long or very long. So we always recommend to join maybe the first seminars that are going to be an opportunity for you then to see how we teach, the different techniques, the different opportunity that we are giving during the classes. But what I was saying is that very often the classical question is, oh, but everything that you're teaching is being given by Falco. It is all about him. It is all about, he's channeling his mediumship and etc. Well, let me explain a little bit better how we brought back this knowledge in this time, how we reawake, how we remember all of these things. Well, there are, let's say, 4 different modalities, 4 different ways to bring back this knowledge. Well, the first one is the one that we call the stone language. What is the stone language? It is the language that all the important civilization they use in their times. I'm talking about the language based on the sacred geometry, based on the use of that architecture that in their temples, in their sacred places, in their pyramids, many important civilization they use to leave piece of this knowledge, or books of this knowledge, or page of a big book or a large book of knowledge. And in this case, what they use is, yes, the sacred geometry in the architecture connecting to the material that lasts more into time. Yes, I'm talking about stone, literally. Doesn't matter if this is limestone, sandstones, granite, diorites, or many of the famous, let's say, stones that they've been used in the past to build statues, to build temples, to build altars, and many other objects. So stone lasts a little bit longer than many other materials. So let's imagine that they send these messages, or again, this page of the book of knowledge into time. But stone is also pretty interesting for another characteristics. Stone is very similar to, yes, to a crystal, to a quartz. And what we can do with a crystal, with a quartz? Well, we can charge, we can infuse, we can, let's say, prepare that crystal, that stone, that quartz with some kind of, again, energies, informations. Energy is information is energy. And obviously, knowledge is an information, so is energy too. So what I'm trying to say is that through different rituals, all these stones, they've been prepared, charged of a specific information. That information that is this knowledge that we are talking about. So, yes, let's say if we have the keys to read, to interpreting what these stones is still containing, well, it's a great opportunity to get back this knowledge. That's the reason why in the mystery school, for sure, there's going to be a lot of, let's say, a lot of seminars in which we're going to learn a lot. But definitely will be important also to come to Damanhur, or maybe to visit some places in the future, like Egypt or others, in which it's really important to stay in contact with these stones, aura to aura. Obviously, some, or let's say a large part of the knowledge that is being given in this case to, let's say, to us is being brought back in this kind of pilgrimage in which traveling physically in this place has been also the opportunity to literally, let's say, enter to, let's say, in contact with this different information, with this different energy, with this different knowledge. So stone language is the first one. The other method that we use at the time, in which obviously Falco was alive, but also today, is the knowledge that is still protected or keep it in what we call the Akashic records. So everything that is in the beyond, in the invisible, in the threshold, in the dimensions, in the astral planes. So we can use, again, different terms to talk about the aura of the matter, everything that is surrounding us, everything that is part, in this case, of what we can feel, but we cannot touch, because it is based on vibrations, on frequencies, on energies. So is in this beyond that we can find what, generically speaking, we call Akashic records, or the famous library of knowledge, or the alchemy caves. So terms in which not always we define a specific physical place, but we define something that is being created or built, again, energetically speaking. Is what, for example, the Egyptian, they locate in what is being called the fake doors or the false doors that you can still see in many Egyptian temple or in many museum related to these important civilizations. So yes, there are places built energetically that they are containing this very precious knowledge. Why there? Why accessible in this case only through out-of-body experiences, astral travelings, or again, very high kind of channeling, mediumship? Well, I don't have to remind you that knowledge is power, is the possibility to manifest. It's giving you more power to create, to manifest, to literally make it happen here into the matter. So, of course, it's a power that hopefully it's better that it's going to be in the good hands. Which are the good hands? Well, of the people that are willing to use this power not for their ego, but for the bigger goal, for the bigger mission, for the others, the service of something that is going to be for the evolution of the entire humankind, and not just to grow the inner power that individually we can obviously, let's say, grow. So that's the reason why it's only through different astral bodies experiences that then we need to rise our frequency to then access to these very high frequencies that we can also define in dimension or astral plane. So this exploration, I'm sorry, this possibility to reach these, let's say, astral places, these Akashic records, is the other method, the other methodology that is being used to bring back this knowledge here available for us. The third method, well, we mentioned Falco, we mentioned Alberto Ieraldi, our founders, and obviously for us, Falco is one of these individuals that we can call avatars, spiritual masters, or more correctly, stars masters. So parts of the same consciousness, of the same awareness, individuals or souls that they already achieved the enlightenment, that they choose to come back and then to be incarnated in different planets, in different places of the universe, to sustain, to help, to accelerate, to, let's say, show to other individuals how to accelerate the process of enlightenment. So, characteristics of all these very unique souls is the possibility to be lucid channelers. What is a lucid channelers? Well, obviously, we are all medium, all of us. We all have the capacity to be bridge. We also call us bridge forms. So in the true sense that we can be a connection between the matter, the form, the physical, let's say, manifestation that we call the matter in the spiritual physics. So here we are, with the beyond, with again the invisible, the threshold, etc., and etc. So we are all natural medium in connection with something that we don't see with our eyes, but we can feel with our senses and inner senses. That, by the way, is another of the very exciting seminars of the Mystery School. So what we define with the terms lucid channeler. So yes, you might have the experience that in a channeling, you might also lose your consciousness. You don't remember what you've been channeling. You don't remember what you said, what you did during that very unique moment, that trance that sometimes is part of this connection with the beyond. So a spiritual master, an avatar, doesn't need to lose awareness, to lose consciousness. Absolutely not. A master is always lucid. And this capacity, it is exactly the one that allowed the spiritual master to channel exactly the information that he need or she need to teach in that moment, bringing back information that otherwise for us it will be much more challenging or longer or difficult to get back. So yes, a spiritual master looks like an entire library of information. How come that he or she knows so many things? Well, for this capacity to connect exactly with the information that is needed to that library that in this case, it is not physically, but is in the other side, in this beyond, in this invisible. So, of course, Falco is being capable to bring back a lot of this ancient knowledge thanks to this very important characteristic that every avatar is carrying on. The fourth method, it is definitely also one of the most excited because is called research. Yes, often we use the term spiritual research, and we don't have to forget that the research, it is not over. It is not done completely. Absolutely not. The research never stops. Actually, more you know, more probably you are going to understand that there's still so much that has to be learned. This is not about age. This is not about a specific moment of your life, but is all about your life. Since the very first moment to the very last one, we are in a constantly learning, let's say, modality, or at least this is what is possible if we want. So Damanhur is being called, and we love to be called also, as a place of research, as a place in which every Damanhurian is then specializing in some field of research in which you can really testimony the best of yourself or the natural gift or skills that you have inside of yourself. Tigrilla, for example, it's pretty obvious that she's been using all her skills in the research with the plants, in the communication with the plants world, and not only. As for me, for sure, the research into what we call the synchronic lines, or the research in time, that is not only studying an alternative history of the humankind, are part of my field of research. So let's imagine not only, let's say, an individual research, but then many groups of research that in Damanhur are constantly elaborating new possibility based on the things that we already learned and on the techniques that we are already using. And you are part of this research too. So be part of the mystery school, learning all these kind of things, learning all these different techniques. It will also be an enormous opportunity for you to then research individually, collectively, in the different moment in which you're going to be followed, you know, in the different exercises that we're going to propose you. So you are entering definitely in this spiritual researcher modality, because this is something that hopefully is going to follow you in all your life. So don't imagine that we also that we in Damanhur, we already arrived, we already know everything in every field. Absolutely not. Even if we know a lot, we are still constantly researching in all these different fields. So I took a little bit, you know, to explain a little bit better, you know, this concept and this element. But for me, it's very important because are obviously some of the questions that everyone that is studying the mystery school, it might ask. Now, and then maybe I'm going to open to some of your questions, because as I said, you can take advantage on the fact that we are not so many. So I mean, I can answer to everything you never asked before. But just to clarify also, the many different seminars that we are going to teach for you are always based on at least two different aspects. It might be obvious, but again, I like to, let's say, to clarify one more time. Of course, there are a lot of information, a lot of knowledge that we wanted to bring it to you. And again, just to add one more thing, when we talk about knowledge, we talk about a very specific kind of teaching. It's a teaching that is, we call it alive. So it's an alive teaching. What it means? It means that it's not just to listen, learn interesting things, learn interesting techniques, different point of view or different logic. An alive teaching is a teaching that is going to affect directly your synchronicity. We talk already about the synchronicity. For sure, there's going to be more opportunity to talk about that. But very simply, the synchronicity are or is the field in which we are all immersed, is the field that connects every possible event beyond time and space, and is also connecting all of us in the true idea that we are one, and that everything is affecting not only my personal life, but what is affecting me is affecting all of you, and what is affecting all of you is affecting myself. So the synchronicity is what is going to be affected by the knowledge. It means that the knowledge, it will bring in your life, yes, in your everyday life, or in, doesn't matter, again, your age, what you're doing, where you're living. So the knowledge will affect the synchronicity of the events that we're living in our life, to then bring the opportunity to make it happen, to practice, to really, let's say, give us the opportunity to use this knowledge to change our life, to transform the different aspect of what we're living in this current life. Yes, and this is the incredible characteristic of this teaching, of the knowledge, this alive teaching, because it's really going then to bring and to attract in your life what is going to be the need to accelerate your spiritual process, or to accelerate the manifestation, the completion of your spiritual mission. So for
Crotalo, there's a couple of questions that came through about
yes,
synchronic
yes,
lines.
I'm just going to complete the idea.
Yep.
So that is
I
very
just
simple. So every seminar's knowledge, but then also expect always practical things, practical exercise techniques that we are going to learn together, that we are going to guide you. So in every class, you can always expect both of the element, teaching, knowledge, information, but then exercise, practical things. So the possibility then to have your own experience related to the topic, related to the part of the mystery school that we are going to study. Questions?
Yeah, so Jill asks, what are synchronic lines as your specialty? Or do you mean which? Jill, do you want to just unmute and ask your question?
Please.
Excuse me. You said your specialty was synchronistic lines, and I was wondering, you didn't explain what that actually means to you and the depth of your mastery in that. And as I listened to you and as I heard that term and began to think and write the question, I'm sensing that you have high Akashic record ability to read us as we're, and I'm wondering if that's part of the way that we're taught or assisted, because we all have that ability to at some point to communicate with the teacher and the student and from higher levels, and we're all working on this multidimensional progress, put it that way.
Thank you, Jill, for the question. Well, definitely here the kind of teaching that you're going to receive, it's done, as I said before, on many different levels. So the most easier to understand are obviously the things to learn, what then we are going to teach you live directly to you, what is going to be then the practice. So the possibility then to guide, or let's say to educate our energy, our possibility, our talent. But there are also other way in which the teaching is going to come. Definitely through your dreams, definitely through a connection that is based on what we are talking astral traveling. That's the reason why this is one of the very first, if not the first class that you're going to have to learn, because the astral travel techniques are definitely some of the most important to train the opportunity for us to explore more and more what we're going to connect on the other side. And yes, when I'm talking about the specialties in my regards of, let's say, working, studying, researching in the synchronic lines, there is for sure one of my abilities or one of my skills, that is the astral traveling. Many people know me because I've been, let's say, teaching thousands and thousands of students all these years in the 3 different levels that we are, that we have actually in the mystery school regarding, let's say, the out-of-body experience, the astral travel technique. Because when we talk about the movement or the research into the meridians of the planet, the crossing point of the synchronic lines, the points that are still considered the source, again, source of information, source of energies, source that are still active in some places of the planet that then brought me then to bring my research also traveling physically in some places of the world, in which then I design in some occasions also spiritual journey, because they become again places that we need to visit, not only astrally, but also then physically, because we need to use our free will to make that effort, that is the choice to move the body, to spend time, to spend money, to make maybe a little effort to then be there. And all of this action is activating, is triggering what then we can find in that place, physically and not only physically. So this is what I mentioned about, part of my personal research. These places that we can also consider it magical places or places of pilgrimage. They've been obviously then always connect to many different civilizations, and for that reason, my passion about the alternative, the other history of the humankind. It is not only one of the topic that I'm teaching inside of the mystery school, but is again a passion, a way of researching, and the opportunity again to know many interesting people, discovering many different places, and then offering all of this in different forms to my students, or in general to the people that they are passionate too about these kind of things. Of the synchronic lines, we are going to, let's say again, to learn a lot in many different classes, because obviously when then in the mystery school you will have the opportunity to come to Damanhur and then to experience the temple, spending sometimes an entire night inside of the temple. Well, obviously then we will have again a direct practical experience of what it means to be inside, to be in contact with one of these meridians of the planet, to this crossing point that makes Damanhur a unique place in the entire world, where 4 synchronic lines are crossing together. I hope I answer you, Jill, and happy to go deeper, obviously. If you want, you have to turn your microphones on, and then we can hear you.
Oh, I'm getting a better idea of how the temples were built. If you say there's 4 points there, and so you're accessing a major information on the history of that place through civilizations. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if I understand correctly the
okay,
question.
I'm throwing too many things together at the same time. Sorry. You said I've never had a sense of what the Damanhur temples, you just said they were built on 4 cross meridians. So maybe that's what I need to understand, how those meridians must be very powerful. And they must have been a power place for the whole planet.
Well, let me probably explain a little bit better what are the synchronic lines and what I call as meridians, because I might just give it for granted, but it's probably not. And just to probably make the things even better, let me see if I can share with you the map of the synchronic lines. So that will probably make the things even more clear. So what we have here is, yes, the entire generic map of what we call synchronic lines. So first of all, what they are. The synchronic lines are the energy lines of the planet. It's like, again, we are talking obviously about a planet that is not only based on the, let's say, physical aspect, but also a planet that has an aura, an energetic aspect. And as we have meridians, we have, in this case, let's say, different energy lines that are crossing the entire planet. We talk about 9 synchronic lines that are moving horizontally and 9 synchronic lines that are moving vertically. And this is what in these pictures you will see horizontally with the lines in blue and vertically the line in red. Now, the vertical line, they converge to the poles of the planet and they are extending themselves in the rest of the planet, just to give you the idea, more or less like in this kind of drawing that I'm showing you right here. So we can imagine that there is not only a net connecting to the planet Earth, but there is also a large net that then brings the different synchronic lines coming from the different planet of the solar system to create a bigger net. And then from the sun, that is the gate of this system, there is an even bigger net that connect all the rest of the cosmos, of the universe. So the synchronic lines are also called the life lines. Life lines. Why? Because the synchronic lines are naturally created, are naturally formed inside of a planet. How come 18 instead of 7, instead of 6 or 3 or 20? Well, as more life forms a planet is containing, as more synchronic lines we're going to find in a planet. Just to give you a measure, 18 synchronic lines like in the planet Earth, it's a lot. Just to remark how full of life is the planet Earth. And life is one of the most precious elements in the universe, if not the most important. Now, the synchronic lines, as you probably see, in some point, they are crossing to each other. 2, 3, sometimes 4 of them. When I talk about the meridians of the planet, I'm talking about this crossing point. Obviously, a cross point of 2, it is less powerful of a cross point of 3 lines or 4 lines. So more lines are crossing, more powerful that points is become. Now, studying the history, and that's the reason why I mentioned the ancient history of the humankind, studying the history of the humankind, we will notice that always where there is a crossing point of the synchronic lines, there's been always an important civilization that is being born exactly nearby in that place. Why? Well, again, because probably what these lines are carrying on makes that territory unique, blessed, sacred, with a possible accelerations in the events and the situation that they can happen. Now, we also have to remember, or to know in this case, that the synchronic lines are moving slowly, super slowly. It takes hundreds and hundreds of years to move, but they're moving. So that means that places that in the past, crossing point that in the past they've been very important, well, today they are not anymore. Others, they still are. And new ones, they are, in this time, in this epoch, the real important ones. Why I'm saying that? Because, for example, where I'm moving the arrow here in this point, it is probably obvious that I'm pointing where Damanhur is, north of Italy, Piedmont region of Italy, valley called Valcusella, and here there are 4 synchronic lines crossing together, a unique point in the entire planet. The reason why we build the temple underground is to connect, plug perfectly with these energy lines that obviously, as you can imagine, because they are made of energy, they can pass deep down into earth, in the surface, up in the sky, under the water. So obviously they are energy lines, so they are not limited by the morphology. But the morphology of the planet can eventually then attract them. The reason why we build the temple underground is because caves, underground caves, naturally artificial, for example, they attract them. Even the high point of the mountain, they attract the energy lines. Or islands. Or, for example, when 2 rivers are crossing, or more than 2 rivers are crossing, so the huge, let's say, quantity of water in movement, it's another element that recall them. So when I'm talking about places of pilgrimage, yes, of course, we talk about places that they are still active regarding the crossing point of the synchronic lines. Now, one last element that maybe can clarify your question. I talk about history and the fact that always in these places, in this crossing point, in these meridians, important civilization, they've been established exactly in that territory. Now, where they build their temples, where they build their sacred places, obviously exactly where the energy is. So what happened when then a civilization is being conquered by another civilization? What happened to the temples of this new civilization that conquer this old civilization? Did they build the temples, the sacred places somewhere else, or exactly on top of the temple that they've been already existing? Well, probably you know the answer. If you go to Rome, in the catacomb, you can see 7 levels of different temples. So it means that everyone was always going to build where? Where there is the energy, where there's been already a temple using the same energy. That's the reason why they've been built one on top of the others. Or one temple is being destroyed, then let's say creates a new one based on the new civilization, but exactly in the same point. Now, I hope with this other information, I give you a better understanding and how and why I connect history and the study of history, obviously not the classical history or not only the classical history, with the research of the synchronic lines. Bene. Any other question? Let me see. I think that, yes, there is another question. You can open the microphones and
my question around the synchronic lines were, are they the same as what is commonly referred to as the ley lines? I get the impression that they are different. And also, knowledge of these synchronic lines, is that something that you got from Falco? Is there any other spiritual community or spiritual teaching that uses who believe in the location of these synchronic lines in the same way that Damanhur does, or is this simply unique to Damanhur? So that's one question. And my other question was around the Akashic records. When you access the Akashic records within the course, I'm just trying to understand the difference between accessing the Akashic records and what you refer to as the lucid channelers. Do you act as a lucid channeler for the Akashic records? Are you channeling Falco are you channeling other beings? I'm just
Okay,
curious
now
about
I have
that.
to stop you because we have multiple questions
Yeah.
in the same question. So let's start with the first one, and if I forgot something, please ask me, and we can move to this other one. So it's a good question. So of course, the synchronic lines are not the only energy lines of the planet. And just to be very clear, Damanhur is not the only spiritual path, spiritual, let's say, research that is talking about the energy lines of the planet. I would say that almost everyone, everywhere, they've been talking. Just to mention someone pretty famous at the moment, like Mattia De Stefano, that is a dear friend that came to Damanhur to visit us several times. And coming into the temple, he's talking again about the energetic point of the planet, their activation, and etc. So I would say that the knowledge of what we call synchronic lines, but in the past they've been also called the point of the back of the dragon, they've been called, you know, the lifelines, they've been called the esoteric, the mystic energy of the planet. So there's been different, again, terms to talk about the same exactly topic. So the study, the research of the synchronic lines and of this that we call in meridians, this crossing point, it's been part of all the esoteric tradition. That's the reason why when we needed to choose where to build Damanhur, we were not sure where to do it. Why? Because at that time, for the esoteric tradition, for the esoteric information that we had, the map was not complete. We didn't have in the 70s the completely map of the synchronic lines. So we wanted to be sure to build Damanhur, that you will discover more and more is not just a spiritual intentional community, but is, let's say, our practical expression of everything that we learn, studying, researching in spirituality. But by the way, let me just tell you this briefly story. So the map was not complete. So what to do? We needed to complete it. And to complete it, it was also needed then to go physically in some places of the planet, and then physically in that place of the planet, do channeling, do astral traveling, do many different techniques to, let's say, measure the energetic field of a place, to then, let's say, finally complete what it was not. So that was the first 2 years of the foundation of the idea of Damanhur, in which Falco, with the founders of Damanhur, they've been traveling literally all over the world. To then, ironically, when the map was finished and they finally could find out where the best place it was located, then to create Damanhur, well, ironically, you know, we are always looking for the most important things far away from us, far, far away. And then we forget that the most important and precious thing and place is right inside of us, where is our divine spark, our soul. So imagine the surprise when they discovered that the most important energy point of the planet, where 4 synchronic lines they've been crossing, it was located 12 miles from where Falco was born. Falco was born in Balangeo Canavese. Damanhur is born in Baldissero Canavese. So it's very, very ironic. So no, we are not the only one to talk and to research on the synchronic lines. Now I completely forgot the rest of the question that you have about the synchronic. The other kind of lines, the ley lines and etc. Yes, the ley lines are one of the different energy lines. In reality, we can define the majority of the different energy lines with the name synchronic lines, minor line, oval line, ley lines, blue lines, telluric lines. In reality, there is still something more, but these, let's say, are the 6 major categories. To better understand what we talk about the synchronic lines, we have to imagine a kind of the highways, okay? The highways of the energy lines. This is what we call synchronic lines. The highways, it means that are the one in which we have this synchronic energy passing through, the time energy passing through. It's from where the souls are coming in and out of on a planet in every incarnation. Are the energy lines that are carrying on dreams, ideas, intuitions, and many, many, many other more things. So the name ley lines is being used for one of these different categories of energy lines that I just briefly mentioned. I'm not gonna enter in all of them because otherwise we need to spend a couple of more hours here together. That could be nice, but maybe not tonight. Did I answer to all your questions about synchronic lines?
Yes, thank you.
The other one is about the Akashic records. Well, again, if I remembered, if I understood the questions. Of course, the aim, the intention, the goal of the mystery school is to make you independent. So maybe it's not very clear, but as Falco did with us, of course, at the beginning, you need a guidance. You need a master. You need a mentor. You need a teacher. Because, of course, it's much easier and is avoiding a lot of issues to have someone that, like you, is doing the same exactly spiritual path. We are not better than you. We are not different than you. We are exactly as you are. We just probably did a little bit of the path before you. So we can tell you, which could be the direction or what they are the most important things, and maybe avoiding the things that are going to just take time or energy from us. But we are exactly like you, following the same exactly spiritual path. And in this path, of course, at the beginning, we need a guidance, but then there's going to be a moment in which you need to walk with your legs. You need to find inside of yourself your inner master. We contain already everything. Our soul is a piece of the divine. In a way, the enlightenment could also be described as the reawakening of your inner God. So, in other hands, there's a piece of God or goddess, whatever, that is here inside of us. And we are insisting to live as humans. But our path is divine because we are divinities. So, in a way, we have to reawake this divinity. So, the enlightenment, all these experiences in which we are passing through, are this opportunity to finally woke up and then to be the divine in the matter and outside of the matter in the same exactly moment. Now, in this concept, we contain already everything, also a master, an inner master. So the path of the mystery school is a path of transformation to make you and to brings you closer and closer to discover, to reawake your inner master and to be absolutely independent. We are not here to create dependency on me, on another teacher, on Damanhur, on Falco. Absolutely not. The spiritual path is a path of freedom. Now, careful. Freedom in spirituality doesn't mean to do whatever you want, but it means to be free to achieve your spiritual mission. Free to establish and to realize everything that you should realize in this lifetime. That is the freedom. And this is the aim, the goal of the mystery school. It's the goal of Damanhur, to bring every individual to be free. Free to realize your unique spiritual mission. But maybe it's going to be connecting to Damanhur or not. Maybe it's going to be a completely different one. Doesn't matter. The goal here is to give you the instrument to find inside of yourself all your talents or your potential or your gift, and then to find out why you're here, which is your mission, why you come back in this incarnation, and then obviously sustaining you to realize this mission, whatever is going to be. Hopefully, as it is, in respect of all the other missions, because in spirituality, there's not only one way to express spirituality, but multiple way. And all of them are correct, and all of them are good, because all of them are in the respect of the others. So that's it. So the different astral traveling or techniques that you're going to learn and use are not to connect with Falco. It's not to connect to specific, let's say, guy, master, or whatever, but is to connect to what you need to learn, you need to know, you deserve to know, you deserve to use for having more power here into the matter, having the power to manifest, to create, to make it happen. Is, if you want, the enlargement of the idea of the power of attractions, that is based on the fact that then all the spirituality is in action, is practical, is manifestation, is the transformation of the matter into energy, is a concept that you're going to hear very often in mystery school, that is called the spiritualization of the matter. Okie dokie. Bene. So I believe that we maybe have time for one more question. And I see Jill that is ready for action. Jill, again, you have to unmute yourself.
It's kind of awesome that you're in Piedmont, Italy, and I'm on the edges. I'm typically really in Piedmont, California.
You see, synchronicity is bringing us to be here together, in the Piedmont area. And, right at the end, Tigrilla is just manifesting. So right here that I'm almost closing.
Because I knew you would still be talking.
I actually, Veronica has been very precise. So 1 hour. So we started, 5 minutes late, as in the Italian tradition. So, and we still have these 3 minutes. So I was asking for the last question, but happy to leave you for the last question.
I just came to say hello.
Perfect timing.
Could I ask one more thing fast? Have you read the I Am books?
Sorry?
Are you familiar? I keep on hearing the I Am Plantness and I Am. Have you read the I Am books of Saint Germain? Is that part of your? You've never heard of it?
No. To tell you the truth, I can recall something, but not so precisely to tell you more. But no, I don't believe I ever read that book. Well, I have read a lot of other books. So,
well, there's many of them. There's 20 books and about 5,000 dictations from the masters. So I just, ever since I've been part of listening to this wonderful classes of Tigrilla, I've wondered, and I keep on watching this question in my head coming back and back. When are you going to ask? So thank you,
Perfect
because
timing.
it's all aligned beautifully with what I've learned, and it's absolutely in beautiful alignment. So I need to find out my lines here in Piedmont and see how they connect somehow, my synchronatic lines in Piedmont to what you're talking about, because the history of places is really important. Have they carried on wars? Are they continuing to hold the energy of war or peace or joy or happiness or creativity or spirituality at a deep level?
Absolutely.
What are these? That's what we need to know, what the history of that place is. Is it peaceful? Is it loving? Is it creative? Or
well, Falco was always saying that without a past, there's not a future. Without knowing from where we came from, what is our history, we cannot really understand our possible future. So in that regards, history could be an amazing key. Not so much to look at the past and see how, amazing we were and how not amazing we are now, but to get from the history, from the past, the keys, the help, the messages, the understanding for what we have to realize right now. Bene, my friend. Sorry.
This is popping out really fast. Is there something I could read on the history of the temples then that would take the next step on what you shared with us today?
But I mean, definitely one of the books that I can recommend of the series of books that in the Mystery School we are going to recommend and introduce. You can go straight to the book written by Falco about the synchronic lines.
Okay.
I'm sure you are going to find a lot of interesting element and interesting point on which then, let's say, connect the dots differently.
Thank you. And it's called exactly that, synchronic
Exactly, the
lines.
synchronic lines. The book of the synchronic lines. Not to confuse with the book of synchronicity, because this is a kind of, let's say, personal divination, very close to the idea of the I Ching or I King. That's another kind of book, but the book about the synchronic lines is the one that I recommend you. Probably you can
Okay.
also find it on Amazon, you know.
Okay.
I believe it's going to be very easy to find a book for you. Bene. So, my friend, I hope this was, let's say, another, let's say, moment of inspiration. Obviously, we are waiting you for the Mystery School, and please just share with your friends, with all the people that you might imagine or think they might be interested. As I said, if maybe people are not immediately convinced to commit for 1 year, I'm sure that participating to the first seminars is going to be a great occasion to get very, very involved and very fascinated about all the things that I share with you. So that can also be another opportunity. Or if you feel it inside of you that that is, so don't wait more and just, let's say, be with us and just jump inside of the boat, because soon we're going to sail. Bene, so Veronica, thank you to be a wonderful host, and thank you, Tigrilla, to come and say hi to everyone, and for the next time. Con voi!
Thank you. Convoy.
A presto!